Hi, this is Glenn Doreen, Electronics Editor for Consumer Reports, and today we are here in our Connected Devices Lab in Consumer Reports Yonkers headquarters. We are going to talk about the streaming media players that surround us in this lab, actually. It's an interesting time to talk about them, things like the Apple TV and the Roku devices that are popping up in people's homes all over the place. Jim, you are a resident expert on TVs and audio devices and now streaming media players. Mm-hmm. Christopher is our in-house engineer, actually, who specializes in this market. You have a degree in electrical engineering. Yep. That's one of my favorite things about this place is that we actually have real scientists taking a look at the products that you use every day. But I want to start with you, Jim, about what it is that's happening with streaming media players right now. They're getting cheaper, right? They're getting more prolific. What is it about the market that's changing now?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a confluence of different things that are all coming together, I think, that sort of make this is a great time for streaming. One is, as you mentioned, these devices, they start around $30, $35, spend $100, so they're relatively inexpensive to buy. The other thing is that there's a lot more content. So you have the streaming services like Netflix and Amazon. And so, for people who are really looking at how they get, their TV service right now, there's some more options. So a lot of people are cutting back maybe on cable and trying to augment what they get. So I think there's just a lot of different things that are going on right now that make this a good time for people to look at these kinds of devices to bring extra content to their TVs.
Not only these separate standalone streaming media boxes, but also on TVs, on Blu-ray players, on sound bars, all these other devices, including gaming systems, that you can access this type of content. So it's very broad, and that's why this room is now in place, so that way we can start connecting all these products that we've always looked at separately.
We put out a question to Facebook on, just asking if anybody had any issues here. We got a lot of responses that actually had to do with connectivity. People just concerned about how easy it's going to be to set these things up. Will they work with my existing equipment? And also some questions about buffering and some people that were having issues with them. And I wonder, part of the pitch here is that these things are plug and play, right? That you just plug them into the back of your set, hook them up to your router. Is it as easy as that? Are these people having just connectivity problems? Is it the machine itself, or is it their broadband service? We don't have enough information to answer each question specifically, but I'm just curious to know where are the potential hangups here?
As far as the setup itself is concerned, it kind of just really depends. The easiest way to do it, and what we usually recommend, is a hardwired Ethernet cable. You plug it into the TV, and it should connect pretty simply right to the internet, no passwords or anything like that. And then you don't
however, not everybody's router is sitting right next to there.
That's the problem with that. Yeah. So then, if you have to go wireless, there's the extra thing of you need to know what your Wi-Fi, what it's named. You need to know the password, or you have the WPS push button, which only a select few of the players and TVs. But you also need the router that supports that, so that way you don't need to enter the password. You hit a button and you push go and it connects itself.
Or conversely, you need to know your neighbor's SSID,
right,
their password. So there's
some of it is even related to your provider. My dad's 87, lives in Florida, and I just absolutely hate that phone call that I get about something with his network is wrong. There are so many things I can diagnose remotely, but the network stuff is just the worst. And he has a small, provider that's giving him his internet there. And so when you look in the instructions, for example, I helped him set up a Roku. When he set up his router, that provider wasn't listed as the ones that they are preset for. So I actually manually had to do all the router setup on it, and it was just a nightmare.
The instructions were in Chinese. And
so it's getting better, but I still think that for a lot of people, getting connected to the network is the big issue. And certainly, WPS is making that a lot easier.
So explain for anybody that's not familiar, how does WPS work?
Basically what it does is essentially it drops your protection for 30 seconds, and you push a button on the router, and then simultaneously push a button on the device itself, and they just sort of see each other, and then they make that connection without you manually having to enter a password.
Yeah, because the the possibility of those two things happening, at random. In other words, the button push here and the button push there can only mean one thing, right? And so then they link together.
Yeah.
Unless your neighbor was linking a device
So
at the
you
exact
did,
same
yeah.
time as you were. There's another question that we have specifically about streaming from a computer to a TV, and this raises actually a distinction that I'm not sure everybody knows between some of the boxes, and that is that some of them are pure internet streaming devices, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll tap into the online services that people are familiar with,
Right.
like Netflix and Hulu and so on. And some of them can do more than that on your local network. Explain how that works.
Well, there's many different layers to this whole thing. There's first off the DLNA, which pretty much any media files that you have on DLNA compatible devices, you can pull them and.
By the way, I want to know
view
how
them.
many eyes just rolled at home at DLN what? Like another acronym? What is what? And I think it stands for something. I can't even. Digital
Living-
Network Living Alliance or Digital Living.
Digital Living Network Alliance, something
Anyway,
like that, yeah.
it stands for something that means nothing to the viewers at
Yeah,
home.
but that's just sharing files from one capable device to another capable device. And then you have the other thing, Miracast and AirPlay, where you're actually mirroring through more of a direct Wi-Fi connection from a device to the TV.
And AirPlay is specifically Apple's, right?
Yeah, AirPlay is Apple's version only through the iPad, your iPhone, and MacBooks.
Apple TV.
Okay.
Apple
Yeah.
TV supports
And
it.
Miracast is basically Android's answer to
Right.
To
AirPlay.
Yep.
And there's also some wired technologies. MHL, a lot of the HDMI inputs now on TVs allow you to run a wire from your mobile device. It'll charge it at the same time, and it'll allow you to use that device as a remote control. So there's a lot of different options. And as you said, we've mentioned 3 or 4 acronyms right now.
Yeah.
It's getting increasingly difficult for people to understand what the heck people are talking about.
Wow.
Exactly. So
And
so.
then, just to add to this whole thing, then you have the introduction of the Chromecast, which kind of makes that slightly easier for most people, because now you can do all that through a Chrome web browser on a Mac or a PC. Unfortunately, it's only that
Yeah.
a
So
Chrome web browser somewhere.
But it's sort of cool. I mean, what it does is it allows you to take your computer, and they call it casting, but it means just sending whatever you can find in the Chrome browser on that computer
To the
and just
TV.
send it to your TV
Right.
really easily. So
But unfortunately, it's not supporting any media files that you have on that device.
So I want to wrap up here by just asking the basic question, which is, what would you like if you didn't have any of these devices right now? If you just had to start from scratch, and I was going to say if you weren't an electrical engineer, but let's leave you an electrical engineer. What would you buy for yourself?
Just because I tested them and I've seen all the features, if I had to buy one for myself right now, I would probably go for the WD, the Live Play. Just because there was a lot you could do with that. The DLNA was in there, being able to connect an external hard drive to listen to music and all that. And then it had most of the stuff. It has Amazon and Netflix, which I would tend to use.
And it tends to decode the various media files that, that
Yeah, lots of
exist in the
different-
dark corners of the
Right.
internet.
And it's cheap too, so
Yeah.
that's.
What about you? I'll go last because that's easiest.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to recommend a device for someone else, it would be the Roku, just because of the ease of use and the sheer amount of content. It clearly is the leading device if you like a lot of different things on it. I have a Roku, and so the Chromecast to me is really interesting just because of that casting capability. In fact, it's a $30 device, just pops into the back of the TV, you don't really see it. And it's been pretty extensible. I mean, it came out and our big ding on it was that it didn't have a lot of extra content beyond,
Fortunately,
that.
it still really
But it
doesn't.
added Hulu Plus, and recently it added HBO Go.
Yeah.
So you wonder what else what it will be able to add. So for the price, $35, and its utility, that's what I'd go for.
And for me, I think I'd have to stick with the Roku. Although I do love the WD because it plays local content. The Roku's just ease of use, the seamlessness of it, the fact that I have little kids in my house. They have a kid-friendly zone you can just set up.
Yeah.
There's just a whole bunch of real sort of easy to use aspects of it. I'm not the only one in my house, and I'm distinctly aware of that. So I figure that I just want it to be easy. They have a huge breadth of content, and you can even play games on it and stuff like that. Not that that's the main.
If you don't
use of
mind
it.
not having YouTube.
Yeah, if you don't. Not
That's
every-
right, that's the oddity. The other thing though is that I love the fact that the remote control has the headphone jack,
Yeah.
so that you can
The
now
new ones,
be just
When-
sitting
when
in bed
everybody
watching
else is
TV.
asleep,
Yeah.
asleep in your house, yeah, you can do that. Okay, well, I guess that's it for today. It was a great time talking with you guys. We'll be doing this on a pretty regular basis, covering all different types of content and with all of our electronic staff, and hope to see you next time.